You too, Ajahn. Welcome back.
Hi, welcome. Good to see you again. How do things go this afternoon? Everything go okay with Ajahn Brahmali's session?
I think the internet over there is a bit lagging.
Yeah, okay.
Or else everything was great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sister Eileen, you want to say something?
No. Good evening, Ajahn Brahm.
Good evening.
To share screen, right, Terence? No, that is yours. I think.
Oh, you want to share screen, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
To see the top of your head.
Okay, you share. Because this menti.com was suggested by Angie.
Oh, it's not.
We all don't know how to use. He say you are the expert already.
Yeah.
This retreat, Taswan is doing the interpretation to Bahasa Indonesia.
Ah, bagus.
So you got the whole world joining in the retreat.
Bagus sekali.
Yeah. There's one from Russia registered, Ajahn.
Did you see that?
Wow. What's his name? Is it Mr. Putin?
You hope.
Ajahn, would you like us to read the questions, or would you?
Yeah, please. You read the question and see if you can just stun Ajahn Brahm with the question he can't answer.
Okay, since we can read. Okay, anyone? Yeah, okay, I'll stop the scrolling. Yeah.
Oh, I can see Freddie.
Oh, that's.
Hi, Freddie.
Yeah, can you?
You from
The regular stalkers, quite a number of them.
Yeah, how many from Hong Kong? Quite a few.
Right, you can ask them whether they can see the screen. You can ask.
Oh, okay, I can see the questions
Because
now.
I thought we can see, they can't see.
Yeah, I can see the questions, so I'll answer the questions as I see them. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay,
But
so the first question.
It will scroll.
Yeah, okay.
Stopped it. Yeah.
Dear Ajahn, how do we balance between our dedication to our family and our responsibilities as a layperson while moving away from attachment in our daily life, the development of our spiritual path? Thank you. You do have responsibilities to your family, which you must complete. So depending on your age, you look after your parents, you look after your husband, your wife, whichever one you've got, and your kids. And as you're looking after them, you can still find plenty of time to meditate if you know how to be efficient. So you've heard me say this many, many times before, I'm sure. The old story, which I'm going to repeat now, how heavy is my cup? The longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. And if I don't know how to put it down and rest, I get very tired and exhausted and also sick. So when you put things down and rest for a while, this is what meditation teaches you, how to rest really efficiently. You'll find you'll be able to do that at work by finding a quiet place. And one of those quiet places, if you haven't got a meditation room or a cupboard somewhere, is in the toilets. Or don't call them toilets, call them rest rooms. You go there and sit on the toilet seat or whatever and have a rest for half an hour. In other words, find a place somewhere where you can really relax. And when you relax, you have to let go of the past and future and learn how to be so peaceful. And if you can do that, become so peaceful. When you go back to work, it's half an hour when you haven't been working. But because you've rested, you have now efficiency. So, and innovation, you can write very quickly and you have new ideas come up and you're not so stressed at work. So if you want to learn how to work efficiently, in other words, your livelihood, Learn how to meditate and incorporate that into your day. Just like going to the toilet or having something to eat or having a drink of coffee, have a few minutes of meditation, and that will increase your ability to produce at work. And even though you aren't working so many hours, the work hours you do work are far more efficient. And that's been proven so many times. You've heard me say this before. It's what they called it in Harvard Business School, an investment of time. And it also means that you're practicing some meditation. It's part of your life. And it means when you go back to your family, you can actually relate to them. Even with meditation, it's all about learning the relationships you have to your body and the relationship you have to your mind and the relationship you have to your people you live with. In other words, you learn to see that space between you and the person you live with and the people you live with, and put beautiful kindness and awareness in that space, which means you don't have so many, these emotional difficulties which causes problems in families. You'll be much more at peace with people. And that means you're actually practicing your spiritual path with your daily life. And then when it comes to the time that your children are old enough to look after themselves, and you don't spend so much money, so you can set your partner up with enough to look after themselves, and then off you go to a monastery or a nunnery and just really get into the spiritual life full on. Because you find that just as you grow older in the family life, that after a while you're not so necessary anymore for your kids. The kids that just want to live their own life. Yeah, they want to see you now and again, but a lot of times they don't need you as much as when they're, say, 6 or 7, 8 years of age. And that's a wonderful thing to look forward to. So that latter part of your life, you can have much more peace and freedom if you want. So there's no real problem there, as long as when you are working, you always take that little bit of time off to get your emotions at peace, so you can work very well. And efficiency. Anyway, during the meditation retreat, aside from relaxation to the max, are we supposed to think about the sensation of the skin, which is from Vipassana as taught by Goenka? As I relax my body, I start to feel some sensation. Thank you, Ajahn Brahm. No, that is taught by Goenka, but it really, you can ask Ajahn Brahmali, ask myself, it's not really as the Buddha taught. I'm afraid to say that, but I mean, that's the truth of the matter. And so instead, before we even start sort of contemplating the truth of things, we have to have strong mindfulness, peaceful mindfulness. So we relax our body first of all, and so we can let it go. We can go past it. When we go past the body, the next thing, as you'll hear tomorrow when I carry on the practice of meditation, is we start to go inside of our mind and start to relax that. And it relaxes so deeply you can't feel the body. From the body we go to the breath, and from the breath we go to the mind. The breath is like a stepping stone in the middle of the stream. So we go from the body to the breath to the mind, and then we really increase our mindfulness enormously. It becomes so strong and also so happy. With that happiness comes a lot of courage. So when we go back to our body, then we can really see it really clearly. But if you don't have the stillness of mind, then you can't really have the wisdom which comes. To quote the Buddha, samadhi pachaya yatha Bodhiyana dasanang. It said that many, many times in the suttas. From stillness, from samadhi, you see things. That is the cause for seeing things as they really are. From the stillness. When you haven't got that stillness, your hindrances, they call them the 5 hindrances. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. Those 5 hindrances, they distort reality. So what you're seeing is not what's really there. You're adding on to things. That's sometimes what happens if one meditates on sensations in the skin, but your mindfulness isn't strong. It means you don't see very much. At least you think you're seeing things, but it's not deep. Okay, I cannot see the question to the right here. I can only see half of it. Dear Ajahn, what is the something of death meditation? I can't see that one because the pictures are in the way. So you can I'll go down to another question.
Picture.
How Buddhism view of divorce when wife keep asking for it?
He didn't take
It's
photos.
nothing wrong with divorce because every time relationships, like everything else, are impermanent. They do have their use by date. And sometimes why a man and a woman marry together, you don't really know why the causes are, but sometimes it doesn't work out. And it's no fault of either partner. That's really important to know. But don't blame people, don't blame yourself. But you know that that's the reality, that it's not working out, and maybe you made a mistake, or the two of you have changed. We always change in life, but sometimes people change in different directions, and soon the gap gets so far apart that there's nothing really to tie you together as in a relationship. So it really depends, sort of, what the reasons are. And if the wife keeps asking for it, and you don't want it, then you ask, what can we do? But please, for those of you in Singapore, I think you all know Ang Bin Chu. She told me this story, which I thought was very, very funny. If you haven't heard it before, here it comes. Okay, I'm going to drag the Bixer box to the bottom. I just got some questions. See if I can do this. Yeah, done it. Very good. Excellent.
Here can see.
Excellent. Great. So anyway, this was from Ang Beng Shu, when she said that this marriage counselor, I think it was her, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, one of her clients said she really wanted to divorce her husband, really wanted to divorce him. And she said, well, if you divorce your husband now, he'd probably be very happy to get rid of you. So do you want that to happen? She said, no, I don't want to give him any type of happiness whatsoever. So said the marriage counselor, try this. Just go to the hairdressers, get a new hairstyle, get some new clothes. Just now to smarten yourself up and just be kinder to him. Because the plan is that he fell in love with you once. After a while, if you just, act a bit more, I'm not supposed to use the word sexily, but I think you know what I mean. That act a bit more sort of nicely to your husband, then, he may fall in love with you again. And then when he falls in love with you again, then that's the time to divorce him. That really hurt him. And that's what they said. That was the plan they agreed on. Okay. So then it started working, that he started coming home early from work, and he was much nicer to her, gave her better presents, especially at times like Christmas. And then the counselor said, is he falling in love with you? He said, yes, I think he is. He said, great, carry on. Maybe a few more weeks and then you can divorce him. And that would really hurt him. And that was the plan. But then the woman stopped coming to the counselor. So the counselor rang the woman up and said, how's it going? Oh, he's really in love with me now. Well, he comes back really early. It's really good. Great, she said, now's the time to divorce him. Said, no, he's so wonderful now. Who wants to divorce him? And the counselor said, that was my plan all along. And I just got you to dress up and be nice and kind because it was fulfilling what your first intention was, to hurt him. But now when you experience that kindness and love, you don't need to divorce him. And so they lived happily ever after. That was the story in brief. I thought that was quite funny. Maybe it's just because I'm a monk, I don't understand these things. But nevertheless, that you fell in love once, why can't you fall in love again? Maybe. But anyway, how Buddhism views divorce when wives keep asking for it. If you think that's the best thing to do. If you have children, sometimes ask the children. The children can be quite wise, especially if they're 13, 14 or above. They said, Mummy and Daddy, I don't know why you keep living together. Some children say that because you're not happy together. We want you to be happy. So how we view divorce, it's really up to what you think is the best thing to do. Dear Ajahn, what is the main purpose of death contemplation? Is it to give rise to samvega? Can Ajahn lead a meditation session on that subject, assuming that it's not too morbid for most participants? Well, yes, sometimes you do the death meditations, but very rarely. It's the one which I do teach, which I always thought was very, very helpful. That in the retreats, those of you who are having this retreat in a hotel or in a temple somewhere, that sometimes you'll be encouraged to do what we call walking meditation, because you can't sit on your bottom all day and you get so sore. So you have to do something. So the Buddha developed this walking meditation where you find a nice path, maybe about, could be anything from 10 meters to 20 meters long, around that sort of length. And you start at the beginning with your eyes cast down, maybe looking at body length in front with your eyes open, because you don't want to hit something or step on something you shouldn't. And then you start walking naturally, but being aware of all the sensations of just one sort of foot, one leg moving and moving forward and then stepping down again. And I'm sure that that'll be explained in greater detail later on. But to do that with death meditation, as you are moving, you say to yourself, when your left foot starts stepping, I will die. As the right foot moves, that's for sure. In Bahasa, so Tasva doesn't have to do so much work, you say mati pasti. Left foot mati, I will die, pasti, for sure. And people think that's a joke. Sometimes I think it's a joke because I teach it. I think I just teach jokes, but I say it as something which is quite strange at first, and people think it's funny, but you keep doing that. I will die, that's for sure. I will die, that's for sure. What happens is, you know, that's the truth. You can't deny that. And so after a while, you realize this is something which may not even be a Buddhist, whatever religion, you know, that's so true. And then you get to fear, the fear that you have to let go of all these attachments you own. And I will die, that's for sure. And then actually you start thinking that it's not so bad to let go of these things. And you go through fear, and you keep on walking, I will die, that's for sure. On the other side of that fear, you feel a great deal of peace. All the things you worry about, you realize you don't have to worry about them. All the things which you were anxious about, you're going to die anyway, so there's no problem at all. So you feel a great, great, great sense of freedom by doing a death meditation. It helps to lessen our attachments to this world. And you have to let go of them sooner or later. So it's a little bit of a training, and you find it's nowhere near as bad as people feel. Letting go of attachments to this world is a great sense of freedom. Just all the weights of worry which you have in the world, paying your bills, and even just fixing up your house or fixing up all these other problems. You're free now. You know, you left school. You don't have to do your homework anymore because you're dead. Oh, how beautiful that would be. So that becomes a death contemplation, which is one which I do and I teach. Other death contemplations, there are always so many we can do, but the main point is to realize that we're attached to things we don't really need to be attached to. You can imagine what it's like letting it all go. Just imagine not really letting it go. Those things will be there for you afterwards, but just imagine what it must be like. Freedom, peace. Ah, so nice. I imagine my death contemplation. Oh, I don't need to teach my monks anymore. Oh, I don't need to worry about paying the bills anymore. Oh, I don't need to worry about traveling and giving talks anymore. I'm free. So that's death contemplation. Oh my goodness, people are scrolling down now, and so there's lots of questions. I better hurry up. Otherwise, I won't be able to finish the questions before I die. I have a strong habit of resolving any worries by thinking of the reasons not to fear. That's okay. During meditation, when fear arises, I try to let go, but the mind feels uncomfortable and keeps on trying to reason out the fear. How do I break this habit? Oh, it depends actually who you are, but if you really trust me, you've got nothing to fear at all about meditation. You even stop all the thinking. What is fear anyway? Fear is when the mind loses the present moment and projects onto the future. And it projects onto the future with negativity. You know, you go off to the future and you think all the things which can go wrong, which are possible. But also what's possible is what can go right. So when I think of the future, if ever I do, I always think of the things which will go right, which means that I don't need to worry about the future. Because things go wrong, things go right. Anyway, I think things will go right. My goodness, it's scrolling down so much now. I better do it quickly. Why would I hear sounds just like celestial sounds wherever I've lost that now.
Where is it?
Don't scroll so fast, please. Slow down.
Okay, click one.
Okay, pick one. How do we measure our progress in meditation? You don't measure progress, you measure ingress. In other words, how deeply you go into this moment, not where you go to next. But if you want to find out how much you are growing in meditation, the best way is to ask the people you live with or the people you work with, because you can deceive yourself so easily and you miss just the amazing things which are happening in your meditation, which is one of the reasons why that people come on these retreats. And the usual story, sometimes I didn't really want to come, but my kids sent me, Mummy, you must go to meditation. Oh, I don't feel like it, it's too busy. Mummy, you must go. I don't want to. Mummy, go meditation. Why? Because you're a much nicer mummy when you come back from meditation. Your kids know how good it is for you. Or even your boss. Now, I don't know why not more people do this, but when I was visiting Thailand many years ago, I was on one of the internal flights and not knowing what to do, I picked up the copy of the Bangkok Post newspaper. There's a big article in there about the Oriental Hotel in Bangkok had won the Hotel of the Year award. It's a very hard award to win. The best hotel in the world, the Oriental, it's on the banks of the Mekong River. And they had a description of why they had won. And the managing director, whatever he was, the guy in charge of the hotel, said that the main reason why he thought that his hotel won that award that year was that he sends all the staff, no, on a roster, not all at the same time, he sends all that staff to a monastery for a retreat for 1 week every year, paid for by the hotel, not on their holiday time. It's almost like their work training. And that was in Suan Mok, Ajahn Buddhadasa's monastery. And he would send them there, everybody, for 1 week every year to learn how to meditate, really deeply relax and learn how to be mindful and sensitive to the guests. So their hospitality ability really improved. And I thought, as all I know about meditation, that is probably a very wonderful thing to do if you're in the hospitality industry, to send all of your staff, not at the same time again, on a roster throughout the year on a meditation retreat, even just for 3 or 4 days, just to actually relax and learn how to be aware of yourself and aware of others. So that created huge amounts of progress. But sometimes when you're on long retreats, you think, oh, you're getting nowhere. Oh, my mind is thinking too much. I never find some peace. Sometimes you don't notice how this meditation works. And there was one gentleman on a 3-month retreat with me, and he thought he was getting nowhere, and he was about just to leave the retreat center. And I said, well, before you go, I need something from the shopping mall. I was actually sort of making up. We didn't need it, but it wasn't that important. I said, would you mind getting in a car and just going to pick it up for us? He said, yeah, sure, no trouble at all, because his meditation was not so good in his judgment. So off he went in the car, and he went to the shopping mall to pick up this item for me. And afterwards he came back and he said, that shopping mall is crazy. It's so noisy. People are mad in that shopping center. I said, well, that's where you used to almost live before you came here. Now you found out how your meditation has done a lot of progress. And he went silent for a while. He said, hey, was that why you sent me to the shopping mall? Yes. I didn't need that thing. Other people could supply it for me. I wanted you to see how much you had changed in the 6 weeks you've been here. You didn't notice it because everyone else is peaceful in the monastery. Now you have something to judge it by going into a shopping center, which you found normal when you were in the world, but now you're in the monastery. How much different is it? And he really agreed. And he learned how much progress he had made, which he had missed. He hadn't seen that calmness coming inside of him. So many of you who, especially if you are resident in the hotels, or if you come to the temple and you just go home and you don't turn on the TV or the internet or something, you just really relax and just have a sleep and go to the temple again in the morning. If you just make it like a residential retreat, you will find after 6 days, it's amazing how peaceful you are. And of course, lastly, the other people, when you go back to work again, your bosses. It's wonderful how they see you after you've been on a retreat. And the story I love telling, this lady from Sydney, and she said that she was an executive and she had to grovel. She said grovel to her boss to go to a retreat for 9 days. And eventually he let her go. And when she went back to Sydney, she sent me an email on Monday afternoon. And she got back to work on Monday and saying, my boss said, I don't know what you're doing in that Buddhist meditation center in Perth. I don't know what drug they're giving you, but please bring me back some next time you go. She saw, but the boss saw that this woman was really changed, peaceful and happy and able to work so much better. So you can see there's huge amounts of change when you meditate, which is great. Anyway, dear Ajahn, my daughter has a chronic illness. As mentioned by Ajahn, meditation will greatly help in her medical condition. But how do I get her to do serious meditation? She's 26. Look, the best way is to get these guided meditations. Because the guided meditations, she can get one of those, whichever one she likes. They're for free. These are ones I do, are for free. And just find the one she likes and just listen to it. She can listen to it anywhere, any place, for however long she wants. She doesn't have to sit cross-legged in a group. She's got a chronic illness. So anywhere she likes, and just listen to it and see how it goes with her. Because then what happens is that it works, and she realizes that. And she really gets into it after a while. So just download a guided meditation somewhere and just give it to her. Give her a couple of guided meditations, choose which one you like, and then just whenever you want to, listen to it. But don't force it on her, otherwise she'll rebel. 26 years of age, she has to be her own woman. So just suggest, here you go, give it a try, it works. And see what happens. Oh no, you've got, can you tell a ghost story, please? Thank you. Okay, here we go. Because I'm going to go and see this woman in a day or two. This was, we have our main cemetery board. It's in the suburb of Karrakatta in Perth. And so there's one of our members, Buddhist members, she's a Burmese woman, or brought up in Burma. Well, actually, well, when she was young, but she moved over to Australia for a long time ago. And she's very, very intelligent. So she has her own IT company. And so she managed to get the contract to upgrade the IT system of the Perth Cemeteries Board. So she accepted the contract because it was a very good contract, going to make quite a bit of money. But she was really afraid of ghosts, and she was working in the middle of the cemetery in the offices there. So she made a resolution. She would always leave early every evening, never ever to be the last person in the offices alone in the middle of the cemetery. So everything was going wonderful until the last day. All she needed to do on a Friday afternoon was print out the report. That's the only work which was left. And then she finished the contract. But it was taking a little bit more time than she expected. So she was going to be the last person in the office. Just on the final day, she said, oh, what the heck? It should be okay. So everyone else went home, and she was in the office in the middle of this big cemetery in a quiet part of Perth. And so she pressed a button. She went over to the printer, as you do, to check the long report just to make sure all the pages were coming out. And that's when it happened. In the middle of about 50 or 60 page report, right in the middle of it, a page came out of the printer which shocked her to the bone. It was not her report. It was a page with a picture of a gravestone in a cemetery. That was not in her report. She never created that. It just came out of the printer by itself in the middle of her printout. And she freaked out. She just immediately, she ran out the door into her car. She left all the doors open, all the windows, nothing locked up at all. On a Friday afternoon, got into her car and just sped out of the cemetery. And it wasn't that far to a bridge which went over the Swan River in Perth. She crossed that bridge and then she had a sigh of relief. She believed that ghosts can't cross rivers. Whew. And then, she calmed herself down. And, she couldn't do nothing. She wasn't going to go back there until Monday. So when she went back there on Monday, all the staff there said, "Why did you leave all the doors open? Why did you leave the place in such a mess?" And she told the story. And the people who worked in the office said, "Oh, yeah, that always happens on the weekend. Sometimes we tidy everything up on a Friday afternoon. We lock the doors. And when we go there on a Monday morning, we notice that the ghosts have had a party. Everything's all over the place." But they get used to that. That's the ghost story of Karrakatta Cemetery in Perth. A true story told by one of my disciples. Do you believe that? Yes. The ghosts can't harm you though. They're quite cool ghosts. Dear Ajahn, I am struggling with poor mental health, and sometimes it is very difficult to overcome the symptoms by meditation and mindfulness alone. Are there any other strategies to overcome these besides medication? It really depends on what the poor mental health is and what type of meditation you're doing. I usually teach this type of meditation further on in the retreat, but because you asked, I like to introduce the Emperor's 3 questions meditation, which is, what is the most important time? Now. It's the only time you really have. What is the most important thing to watch in meditation? Whatever is in front of your mind right now. What are you aware of right now? Right now, what's in front of you? That's important. That's the second Emperor's question. And what are you going to do with this feeling you have? You never try to cure it. You never try and stigmatize it. You never be negative towards it, or if it's beautiful, to celebrate it. Whatever you're aware of right now, you care for it. It's beautiful, opening the door of your heart to this feeling right now. It's here. And so it's only when you start projecting into the future, I don't think I can stand this, I don't want this. That is what makes it worse. If you're trying to cure it, get rid of it, run away from it. But if you care for this present moment, really care for it, even if you don't feel that good, you care for it. I don't know why I have to deal with this, but it's already here. I'm stuck with this. I'm going to be with this. And you find if you're with this present moment, even if you call it, poor mental health, you find your mental health just really increases in positive energies. You find if you're with this moment, things like depression, they just disappear. The energy comes back to your mind. You really wake up and you're wonderful. There's a lady, I think from the north of Australia, now she can travel. She's coming to see me because she hasn't arrived yet, probably tomorrow, because these teachings overcame her depression. Nothing else overcame it, she says, and she just has to come and say thank you to me. They're just asking when I'm going to be here. Okay. Dear Ajahn, during meditation, my back doesn't feel comfortable in any one posture and I keep moving. How important it is to have a straight back and to be still? Straight back is not important. stillness is important. So if you even want to lie down on the floor, that's fine. Because sometimes, I don't know what's wrong with your back or what's right with it, but you find the best posture for yourself. I know in my temple over in Perth that the first seats which fill up are the ones against the wall. So people can lean against the wall and they feel so comfortable leaning against a nice solid surface. So you find the most comfortable posture. You won't find any posture which is totally comfortable. You find one which is the best. And usually that's enough. And it is okay during meditation. If you feel like moving, then move. You don't have to sit still throughout the meditation, as long as you have moments, maybe many moments, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, where you don't need to move. That's wonderful. And after a while, if you don't want to move, sometimes you surprise yourself and the body becomes really, 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 really comfortable. You know, when I started meditating, sometimes you were tired and my back would slump, even slumps these days sometimes, and my head would be down. And I would sometimes fight that, and I realized that's wrong to fight. I leave it like that. I was enough mindfulness to know that my body was slumped, but it felt reasonably peaceful. And then it surprised me. The first time this happened, I was really quite amazed. The body straightened up by itself. I never told it to, but it straightened up. And from that day on, I trust my body. I ask my body, how do you want to sit? My back, how do you want to be? Do you want to lean back, lean forward, lean to the left, lean to the right? What do you want? Back. And then just be kind enough to your back. And the back says, well, nothing is really comfortable, but this is the most comfortable. Okay, we can sit like that. And if you want to move, fine by me. That kindness, rather than controlling, will bring you comfort in your body. Dear Ajahn Brahm. Oh, I've got Dear Ajahn Brahm. That's a nice name. I don't mind leaving the A off there, but please never take the M off the last word. Otherwise, I become called Ajahn Brahm, which is very embarrassing. While doing breath meditation, the moment I notice that I've started watching the breath from another mind, my meditation falls apart. This happens constantly when I try to meditate, and I find it hard to move beyond that point. You start watching the breath from another mind, okay, from a different place. Meditation starts to fall apart. So one thing you can do, you can make this what we call reconditioning your mindfulness. At the beginning of the meditation, it's reprogramming. Your mindfulness was the word I was looking for. That when you start meditating, you tell your mind, if that happens, I'm starting watching the breath from another mind. I think you mean from a distance. When that starts to happen, you tell yourself, my meditation will not fall apart. I will just stay there. When this happens, I will just stay there. When this happens, I will just stay there. Repeat it 3 times in your own words. But then what happens usually, you say that at the beginning of the meditation. And then when that thing happens, it's like automatically the mind knows what to do. It just stays, just watching the breath. You're not trying to get anywhere or develop anything. It just stays there. You're nice and peaceful. When that becomes peaceful and stable, then the mind goes deeper all by itself. So don't move beyond that point. Just tell your mindfulness at the very beginning what it needs to do. And then you find it works. Okay, another question, please. Is it necessary to do the Asupa meditation? No, it's not necessary to do the Asupa meditation. If a Asupa meditation is seeing the ugly side of life. And, sometimes, especially if a person is got a lot of, say, lust. I must admit, I didn't have lots of lust, but I knew it was very dangerous, being a monk, a young monk, in a place like Thailand, because I've told you many times before that the most dangerous animal in the jungles of Thailand wasn't tigers. You know what's coming, don't you? It was the tigers. Yes. So sometimes, after a while, you started looking at them and think, oh my goodness, I must stop looking. But they were quite attractive. What should I do? So what I did, and I told the other monks this, I deliberately started to, if I saw a beautiful girl come into monastery, I started looking for her pimples. Because all the girls had pimples somewhere. They may try to cover them up with makeup, but they couldn't afford makeup in that part of Thailand. So eventually I'd find something which was imperfect. And that was enough to get rid of my male idea of wanting this perfect, beautiful woman. And so I could see that, they were nice people, very kind, very wonderful, but they weren't perfect enough for me to sort of lose my mindfulness. And so I did that for many times in life. Anything which was really attractive, we try and find the negative side of it. But I found that many people, that they do that too much, and all they see is the negative, and they get very, not very nice people to be with. So that you balance, with the asupa, seeing the faults in things, we're seeing the beauty in things. And for most people in our modern world, we know how to see the faults in things. We're very good fault finders. I can see the 2 bad bricks in my wall so easily. But we don't know how to see the 998 good bricks. And so that's one of the reasons why I don't teach much asupa, I teach a lot of kindness, metta, opening the door of your heart. Because that manages you to see the beauty in things. And we've always been well trained to be critical and discriminatory, but now we're seeing the beauty in things. And that's really, really, really valuable in today's world. So do things like metta or the perception of the beautiful. That's more important than the asupa practices. Can Ajahn kindly advise how to practice satipatthana while doing our daily chores? Sadhu times 3. Depends what your daily chores are, but how I remember Ajahn Chah teaching me, and he taught others, whatever you are doing, whatever job that is, you give it 100%. So if you're typing up an email on your computer, you don't start thinking about the feelings in your fingertips as it's touching the keyboards. That means you're not really focusing on the main task, which is writing your email. And if you're sawing a piece of wood, you don't think of the feelings in your hand, otherwise you're not really sawing a piece of wood properly. And if, for example, you're driving a car and you're taking me to the airport somewhere, I'm sure it'll happen again in not so long. You're driving me to the airport somewhere, I don't want you to just start being aware of just the feelings of your hands on the steering wheel. I want you to be watching the traffic. So you get to the airport in time and you don't kill me. So sometimes people have some weird ideas of what satipatthana is. So if you're on a retreat, then you can do all those things because that's your main job. Remember, for satipatthana, the most important part of this, and I don't know why people don't teach this because it's right there from the suttas, you only do satipatthana once you have abandoned your 5 hindrances or weakened them. Vinaye loke abhija domanasa is a Pali. It's often translated into English as having overcome grief and covetousness for the world, which made no sense to me when I first read that. So I looked in the Pali, looked in the text, and found out it does mean having weakened the 5 hindrances. So before you do satipatthana, you have to have weakened the 5 hindrances, and that is the job of renunciation, letting go, meditation, keeping precepts, then satipatthana you do. Anyway, what is the benefit of doing open awareness meditation with our eyes open, staring at nature? If you're staring at nature, I mean like going to the forest or going into the cliffs or the ocean, the nice thing about nature is you cannot control it. And then King Canute tried to control the tides and failed and became sort of famous because of that, or infamous. So one of the nice things, you're watching something you can never own, nor can you control. So it makes you sort of let go and just enjoy things which you cannot own or control. I think that's one of the reasons why nature does tend to calm you down. Also, it's very difficult to to capture nature. Sometimes people take photographs of nature, but it misses out so much. I was just joking with I was being driven somewhere a few days ago, and I said that sometimes whenever they take photographs of the monastery where I live, they show it to me, said, have a look at this. I don't know how many times I've seen a photograph of Bodhinyana monastery where I live. And I asked her, where's that? That looks nice. So that's your monastery where you live. Oh, yeah. But the photographs look very different from the reality when you're actually living here. Because the photographs only capture a slight piece of the information, which is one of the reasons why nature, you can't capture it. You can't keep it. Nature is always changing. And so that's the other beautiful thing. It's anicca. And it teaches you the only real way to enjoy nature is in this moment. And don't take photographs of it or videos of it. Enjoy it now and let it go. So that's one of the reasons why the nature becomes a quite calming place to do some meditation. Over in our retreat center in Jhana Grove, I often encourage people just to sit on the benches outside our kitchen and just watch the trees grow, which is, of course, you can't watch trees grow. It's just an excuse to sit there and just watch nature by doing nothing, because you can't really do anything with nature, just watch it. And after a while, you get very peaceful. Sometimes people get their first experience of peace watching nature rather than watching their breath. Because when they're watching nature, they do let go. When they're watching their breath, they're trying to get into deep meditation, they're doing something. So sometimes it gets so peaceful watching nature, so that's why we encourage it. And after you can learn how to let nature be, you get so peaceful, then you can sit down, close your eyes, and then you find meditation just starts taking off, goes deeply inside. Anyway, why would I hear sounds just like celestial sounds wherever I go, even during meditation and chanting? I don't know if it's wherever you go. If you're at work, I don't know if you hear celestial sounds, or in the house. But if you do lots and lots of meditation, you become very sensitive. Sometimes almost in the background, there is this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sounds. This can often happen during meditation retreats when a person starts to get deep meditation. That just before the sense of sound turns off, you hear beautiful sounds. It's like what we call the nimittas in meditation. Most people see nimittas as lights, beautiful lights, yellows and blues, which are more yellow or more blue than you see with your open eyes. But this is in your mind. It's a stage of meditation, which I'll probably talk about later on. But sometimes people don't see the lights. They see the same sort of experience, but they see it through sound, and it's gorgeous sound. Again, they say it's like heavenly chanting. No one else hears it in that room, only you, because only you are in the deep meditation. If you've done lots of meditation, and sometimes you can hear that in many places, many times, even when you're not meditating. So that could be what's happening. Ajahn, can I still become a monastic if one of my parents disapproves because he doesn't want to be alone, even though he's already well taken care of with help? What are my duties? You can actually even tell your parents that there are many people. He doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't have to be alone. Depends on your age. If you can wait for a while, until your other father gets better or he found someone to look after him a long time, that'd be wonderful. But even an example of that was the story of Sariputta. Sariputta's father had died, but his mother disapproved of him becoming a monk. And no, it's actually Sariputta's, I think, younger brother wanted to become a monk. And the Buddha asked him, your father has passed away. Does your mother approve? He said, no, he doesn't. I mean, the Buddha would have known that because he'd known that Sariputta's mother did not approve at all of Sariputta becoming a monk. He became a monk very early on before those rules were set down. And so the Buddha said, well, have you got an elder brother who approves of you being a monk? And the young candidate said, that my elder brother is Sariputta. Of course he would approve. He said, okay, that's good enough. And so the Buddha ordained this young man. It was Sariputta's younger brother. So in other words, if there is a loophole somewhere, we'll find it for you. And becoming a monastic is just such a wonderful thing to do that that's why we find those loopholes. And you can look after your father, or he says you can look after your father, and he doesn't have to be alone. And sometimes you can look after him so much better if you're a monastic. You've got more kindness, more loving kindness, more care. And if he comes and sees you as a monastic and just what a wonderful service you're doing, it makes him so happy. That's my boy. Look how people listen to him and how much he helps the world. It makes your father be proud of you. Dear Ajahn, out of compassion, how can anatta be seen? Thank you most gratefully. That's obviously a big question. If I can answer that very easily, you'll all be enlightened. And if you become enlightened today, what will you do for the next 5 days? So I can't answer that so you all understand it straight away. I'm only joking. But anyway, how can anatta be seen? Sometimes instead of doing it philosophically, I always like to say, well, what do you think you own? Because this is a teaching of the Buddha. When there's a self, there's things which belong to you. When there's things which belong to you, there's a self. So what do you own? And then you look at yourself, what you own, all your possessions, and we don't really own them. Now, when you die, you can't take them with you, as everybody knows. And even just before you die, you lose a lot of stuff. Even your intelligence or your knowledge. That honestly, I was quite fluent in Thai when I was in Thailand. I would translate for Ajahn Chah and I'd be invited to give talks in Thai. But I've lost a lot of that now because they haven't reinforced and made use of it. So that's all that hard work of learning Thai is mostly gone. And all that hard work of learning theoretical physics and quantum theory, that's mostly gone. It wasn't mine anyway. I had it temporarily. And also, to make it very clear, that sometimes the monastery in which I live, I'm only a visitor here. I said, no, you built the monastery. You're the abbot. You're the teacher. So only temporarily. And that's why that I practice this wonderful thing about being a visitor. Sometimes I walk through the grounds of Bodhinyana monastery and I remember I'm visiting this place. I don't own it. It's not mine. I'm only visiting it. And I do that. And some mornings somebody comes up and says, where's Ajahn Brahm? I said, I don't know. I'm not the abbot today. I pretend I'm not me. I don't pretend. I say, I am not me. That's a truth, a very deep truth. So when I'm a visitor, I can enjoy this place, just like when you visit, I can enjoy it. So one way to see anatta is be more of a visitor to places rather than being an owner. Visit your body. Don't think you own this body. So as a visitor, you have to care for it much more. If you own it, you tend to want to tell it what to do. You're visiting your mind. You're visiting your meditation. So don't tell the mind what to do. You're just a visitor. So behave properly. And then your mind gets very peaceful. The more you are, the more you think you own, the more you control, the more difficult your meditation will be. And if you're only visiting your body or visiting your mind, it's much easier. Anyway, during meditation, occasionally I had the sensation of beautiful breath. Ah, lovely. But most of the time I was just at the state of present moment. What should I do to improve? Don't try to improve. Okay, here's the story. There's sometimes, I tell jokes. And some of those jokes, honestly, I make up myself. And every now and again, you turn on the internet, you find somebody else tell them. That's really fun when you say, I made up that joke. This is a very wonderful joke because it's very meaningful for meditators. It's about the migrant. The migrant came to Australia. He was a doctor in his home country, but he couldn't get a job as a doctor. He didn't have the qualifications which were recognized in Australia. So I had to get a job on the building site. And he worked really hard, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and never got paid. Nothing. In those days, he came home and said, "You get any pay yet?" Said his wife, "No, nothing, zero, zip." And on Thursday, he went to work. He worked really hard on Thursday. but still got nothing. And on Friday, he said, I don't really want to go back to work. In Australia, they exploit migrants. They take advantage of us. I'm a doctor, but I have to work on a building site and I work really hard. I get nothing, no money at all. But he went to work on a Friday anyway. And on Friday, he didn't work hard at all. And the boss gave him a big pay packet. And he was so happy, he even went home early. And he told his wife, I finally discovered how things happen in Australia. From now on, I'm only going to go to work on Friday, no other day of the week. You can't go to work just on payday, thinking you're going to get paid a lot of money, because you're paid on Friday for all the hard work you did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and also that Friday. So you get the delightful breath because of all that other hard work you did in meditation. When you get the beautiful, delightful breath, look at that as payday. And afterwards, you have to go back to work again and build up the techniques and skills of meditation. And just like any career, after a while, you become more skillful. And of course, you get bigger pay on and more paydays. In other words, you get more delightful breaths and even more delight than the delightful breaths as you keep going on. So what should I do to improve? I'll just let it be. You got a pay packet, so enjoy. And then go back to work afterwards. I don't think you have to get a pay packet every day. Okay, next question, please. Here we go. Can one meditate on a respected person of the opposite gender for loving kindness meditation? Some say might develop romantic attachment. If you are a female and you meditate on me, I don't think you'll develop romantic attachment. So I'm old. Actually, I'm not really, I always thought I wasn't really old. With my monks the other day, I just telling them, just talking generally with them. I said, I'm getting old. You know what my monk said? He said, no, Ajahn Brahm, you're not getting old. I thought, aren't they nice, my monks? They're so kind. And then they continued their conversation. You're not getting old, Ajahn Brahm. You're already old. I thought, wow, you got me there. But if it's really loving kindness meditation, real loving kindness doesn't own anything. The door of my heart is open to you no matter what you do, where you go. So loving kindness is not keeping something. It's not owning it. It's freeing it. I've often said the most wonderful act of loving kindness is to let something go. You do that to your parents when they get very old, or maybe even a partner or a child sometimes when they get very sick. And the parent has to do this really incredible thing of letting their child go into death and get reborn somewhere. And I've seen that, and sometimes people rise to the occasion. It's not pleasant, but they said, child, I don't want you to suffer anymore. Your body is just not very viable. So please, off you go. You have my permission. Enjoyed our time together. It's only a short time we've had together, but what a wonderful time it was. I'll always remember you. I let you go with love. So that's how these things work. Okay, you're going to choose another one, I hope. It gives me a chance to put some water in my cup and have a glass of water. Here we go. I have a strong habit of resolving any worries by thinking of the reasons not to fear. During meditation, we've had this question before, haven't we?
Is it?
I reckon so. I remember that one. Unless I've asked it again. No, that's the same one. It's the third time it's come up.
Is it?
Oh, no, here we go. During meditation, when I focus on my breath, I end up controlling its rise and fall. What should I do? Can I focus on my heartbeat or fifth sense or something else instead? Thank you. Yeah, that is a problem because you focus on your breath. Don't focus on your breath, especially don't focus on it too soon. That's one of the reasons why I do the body sweeping first of all, to get my body really relaxed. And then as you'll find out tomorrow morning, then I do this peaceometer business, Now I look at my mind, my peaceometer, how peaceful am I right now? Or how disturbed am I right now? And I learn how to relax my mind, very peaceful. Then I start to do the present moment awareness and the silence inside the mind. I'll go into more detail on that tomorrow. But when I get to silence and present moment, I'm not controlling anything. I'm just watching it. It's almost, and then the breath comes to me. I never actually look for my breath. And when I become very peaceful, the breath comes to me. And it's always so much more peaceful when it comes, rather than I try to find it and grab it and hold on to it. So controlling it, after a while, it will just run away from you. No one likes to be with a control freak, not even your breath. So it's unpleasant that way. So don't even look at your breath yet. Just let it come to you. Make your mind really, really peaceful and calm. Then the breath will come to you. And it's already just quite nice. You don't control it at all. Your body knows how to breathe. It's been breathing without you telling it how to do it for such a long time. It's the expert on breathing. So just let the body do what it needs to do. You just do the watching, the observing. Then it becomes very delightful and very easy to watch. You don't have to control it or force it because it's delightful. I love to watch delightful things. Just because it's very hot in Perth right now. It was actually 41 degrees today, really hot. But I saw this parrot. It was in the bird bath and it was just soaking itself. I mean, it was just soggy with water and it was enjoying itself so much. Because it was a hot day, when I walked past it, lifted its head up. It wasn't going to move away from that bird bath, not for me. It was just enjoying itself to the max. And I just got so much joy out of that. I didn't need to focus on it. The scenery, the scene of a bird which is so wet, just drew me to it. And I just watched it for a while. It's joyful. You don't have to force your mind onto joyful things. So once the mind becomes a beautiful mind, a beautiful breath, a delightful breath, once the breath becomes delightful, then you don't need to put any effort in at all. You just watch it and it goes very still and peaceful then. How to meditate while enduring bodily pain. Present moment awareness is really important. You don't enjoy it, you're with it in the present moment. It's here, enjoying this moment. The idea of enjoying bodily pain, I remember just when I was a kid seeing these movies and someone was about to be tortured, by some people wanting information from you. They would say, they would never actually torture them or whip them or do anything yet. They would just show them all the equipment and they say, you're going to wish you'd never be born. They actually just get the fear up first of all. In other words, what's going to happen to me next? Oh, I can't stand this. When you go into the future is very scary if you have that negative mind. But in this moment, you're enduring it. It's here right now. You don't know how long it's going to last. And it might only last a moment. I've been in some pains, and I remember this toothache I had, and it just went in a moment with agony, not being able to sleep, not knowing what to do. And I did this letting go thing, and it just disappeared immediately. And it shocked me just how physical pain can disappear quickly in a moment. Weird, but it's true. But what was actually happening, the main part of pain is the mental response. 90% of it is how the emotions play with the physical feeling of pain. The actual physical experience is actually quite small and quite tolerable, even just extreme pain. It's what we add to it. And that's why, torturers, they work on the emotions and the fear rather than the physical feeling itself. So that's how we deal with this, to split that pain into the emotional response. I don't want this, I can't stand this, and all that thinking which goes with it, and the physical feeling. And you learn so much from that. And you're amazed at how much you can tolerate. No problem at all. Okay, there's a story about that, but it goes on a bit. So I'll answer the next question. In Kalama Sutta, the Buddha says not to rely on logic. We heard Ajahn Brahmali explanation this afternoon. Could you please explain a little more, Ajahn? Can we rely on our experiences? Aren't our experiences also based on our interpretation? What does the Kalama Sutta say? The Kalama Sutta said you should not sort of rely on suttas or any old knowledge. So you can't rely on the Kalama Sutta. I said that to Ajahn Brahmali today. He said, oh, Ajahn Brahm, be quiet. So it's an oxymoron to teach the Kalama Sutta. But anyway, what to rely, not to rely just on logic. And the reason is, because not to actually deny reason, but not just to rely on logic by itself, because as any philosopher knows, it depends on your assumptions, which you start off with. And from those assumptions, you work out logically what the next step is. If your assumptions aren't correct, sometimes the conclusions aren't correct. That's one of the problems with logic. Logic by itself is fine. But what assumption did you make? So, your experiences, aren't our experiences also based on our interpretation? Yes, they are. So what can you rely on? Oh, I can't resist this story. This was that story in London, in Imperial College in London. One of my mates told me about this experiment where just a bunch of physicists, experimental physicists, were going to see a demonstration of levitation. It's a levitating flower pot experiment done by the Society of Psychical Research in London. And so he said I could levitate this flower pot, and got all his mates who were top professors and experimental physicists in London to come to this demonstration because he had a bit of clout in the physical community in London. And he came into the lecture theatre with a flower pot. He put the flower pot on the table, and so there's no wires or anything. He said, we're now going to levitate this. He turned on all the cameras, so if it worked, they'd have photographs, proof, ultraviolet cameras, infrared cameras. He had the works there. And then he asked all the professors, you probably remember the story when I say this, asked all the professors in the audience to start chanting Om, just that one word, Om, over and over again, to create the ambience, the mood for this to work. And they were all chanting Om, Om, Om. And that is when the flower pot lifted up into the air. It actually levitated. It worked. And then afterwards, they had photos of it, everything. Afterwards, they asked these physicists what you thought of that. And I remember one of them said, what are you talking about? It didn't lift at all. It was on the table all the time. But here's a photograph. That's fake. And that was the whole purpose of the experiment. The flower pot did lift off the table. And because some people thought that's impossible, that can't happen, it's against all the laws of physics. For that reason, they didn't see it. Even though they were looking, it did not register in their conscious awareness. And of course, afterwards, they explained to everybody that there was a huge electromagnet under the bench. It's just basic science, electromagnetism, but they never let anyone know that at first. And they had to do the chanting of Om, 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 because when they turned on that very strong current, people have noticed it straight away. The hum of strong electricity. So they did the Om to mask the trick, the deception. But the main point of the experiment was, even though it lifted, some people could not see it. Not because it was out of their vision, it's because it was too challenging to see, deeply challenging. And that is actually how even the Buddhists taught the cognitive distortion of our perception. Even something's happening, we can't see it because it's just too difficult for us to understand. We block it out at a very fundamental level. And so the only way to avoid that is, again, to meditate, to reduce the power of the 5 hindrances. When the 5 hindrances are just really, really gone, then whatever you see, you can trust. You don't distort reality anymore. There's nothing you want, there's nothing you're afraid of. That's the negativity. The mind is powerful, it's got no sloth and torpor, it's not restless, it's poised. There's no doubt. 5 hindrances are restrained or even gone for a while. And that is when what you see you can trust. Sometimes it shocks you. You see things you've never seen before. Scary things, but you're not scared. Simply because the mind is now free of the hindrances. Anyway, Ajahn, how does one deal with an addiction or bad habit? Try to be kind to the person. It works for a short while. Any advice on how can do to prevent relapse? Yeah, if somebody's addicted, it's a really tough one because, as one person once said to me, they came to Bodhinyana monastery, they were addicted to heroin. And they said they had so much good support, but they said 1,000 times a day they have to say no. One time they say yes, and they're back on the habit again. They're also saying that, when you say that yes, it's a lot of time they're strong, but they have the down days or the times when they're not so strong as usual. So one of the supporting mechanisms, don't put the person down. They're trying their very best and they feel so much shame and they feel they're not worth anything sometimes. And that means they don't even try. They haven't got the strength to feel that they can beat that addiction. Some people do beat those addictions. Well done. So first of all, always build them up. Never criticize people with addictions. Realize that, you don't know how hard it is. Only they know. And the next thing, obviously, is to make sure that what they're addicted to is not readily available. In other words, it's not just in the drawer of their bed. It's not sort of just next door. But the harder it is to access whatever they're addicted to, then the more likely it is before they actually get there to take another hit of their whatever they take, that they come to their senses and they realize it's not worth it. Because you have those downtimes, but then those downtimes don't last that long. And if somehow or other they can just put it off or restrict it for a little while, then they say, no, I don't want to do this. And they don't, so say yes. So see if you can put a space, as long as you possibly can, between the time they think, yes, I'll do it, and before they have their hand on the bottle of alcohol or on that syringe. Next question, how do we fight dozing off during meditation? Thank you, Ajahn Brahm. Don't fight dozing off. First of all, make sure that you're comfortable enough and the temperature in the room is not too hot. Because if it's really hot, of course, you tend to doze off. You get good food. And I say that because I had so much trouble dozing off when I was a young monk in Thailand, when I was in the northeast of Thailand. And when I thought about it afterwards, I thought, even if the Buddha was born in England and ate that type of food, he would be dozing off because he was malnourished in a climate which was so hot and humid and oppressive, sleep deprived, and had all the reasons to doze off. And then one day I had to do visas. So I went down to Bangkok and there was this new building where we were staying, and they had a room which was air conditioned. I remember I've been a monk for 46 years. So 45 years ago, even in Bangkok, there wasn't that many places which were air conditioned. And in the temple, they had an air conditioned room. And so we got hold of the key for it because we'd get up early in the morning and we'd meditate there from 3:30 to about 5 o'clock every morning. And it was no mosquitoes in there. We were eating good food. We were having good sleeps at nighttime. And it was air conditioned. And the first day I meditated, there was no sloth and torpor at all. And I thought, wow, now I know where that sloth and torpor came from. It was physically induced, not enough sleep, not good food, and just too hot for me. So that's one of the reasons why it's been a very hot day today. So please forgive Ajahn Brahmali or myself if ever we said something we shouldn't, because the heat just sometimes fries your brain if you're from Norway or from England. That's where we two were born. But when it gets colder, it's supposed to be cooler tomorrow, which is great, then of course you're much sharper, I find. So anyway, so if you do doze off, which precept do you break when you doze off? None, because it's nature. And the best way when you're dozing off is to let yourself doze off. You have some mindfulness, not great mindfulness, but a tiny bit of mindfulness. Just see that mindfulness just in this present moment. Be kind, be gentle. Make peace with this. If you don't fight, it means you're not wasting energy. You don't waste energy, the energy just starts to build up. You come out of that doziness slowly, but you come out of it for sure when you don't fight. And when you do come out of it, your mind is really, really, really peaceful. So don't be afraid of it. Don't fight it. Get to know it. Be peaceful with it, and it disappears by itself. Okay, I am confused. Doesn't confusion come up in a person when they are doubting or uncertain whether something is true? Doesn't confusion lead to understanding? How does confusion lead to harm? Okay, confusion can waste so much time for you. So you don't know which way to go, walking this way, that way. So this was a simile which I used to overcome what we call the fifth hindrance of doubt. You don't know which way to go, how to meditate, who to follow, which religion to follow, or no religion at all, what to do. So this was a simile which came up because I was walking in the forest, walking in the mountains of Scotland when I was a student. Even then, I just liked remote places, and I was poor, so it didn't cost any money to sleep out in the forests or in the mountains in the summertime in Scotland. I loved that place. So I stayed in a youth hostel, which was really poor, really cheap. And one morning, there's only 2 of us in the youth hostel. The warden of the youth hostel said, "Why don't we go for a walk up one of the mountains this morning?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go for a walk with you." So we walked up. It was a beautiful, clear, sunny day. No clouds in the sky at all. Summertime in the north of Scotland. And we walked up this mountain together. When we got to the top, we sat down, had a chat. It was not that sort of that late. And I said, "There's another mountain not so far away. Let's walk up that one." He said, "No, one mountain's enough for me." So he went back to the hostel, and I just carried on to the next mountain. There's no taking my time. It wasn't sort of an Olympic training, just enjoying nature. But then what happened really shocked me. In the end, it was a wonderful experience, because as I was getting close to the summit of the next mountain, the clouds came in from the Atlantic Ocean really fast. And they came in, they covered the mountain and much else of the area, and they descended, and I was covered in this mist. And it was so thick, surprisingly thick, that I could not put my hand out. I couldn't see the hand clearly at the end of my arm. It was very thick mist. And I thought, this is dangerous, because you're up in a mountain. There's rocks, there's cliffs. You better be careful which way you're going. So I just turned around and I decided to go back the way I came so I could climb down the mountain. But it was the first time I realized that I was totally lost. I went in a direction which I found out later, was 100% opposite, 180 degrees opposite to the way I thought I was going. When you're in a mist, you don't have a sense of direction at all. And I realized this was very dangerous. I came to a cliff edge, and there was only one cliff on that mountain. And it was, again, in the opposite direction I thought I was going. And that really scared me, because one more step and I would have been dead. I mean, I'm not joking, not exaggerating. There's quite a steep cliff, I found out. And then I stopped and thought, I'm in trouble. This is dangerous, seriously dangerous. So what I did, I just calmed myself down and just was logical. Because I said, I'm going to follow a stream. There's lots of water on those mountains. Follow a little brook, a stream, and whichever way it goes, I will follow it, no matter which way it goes, because I know that water always goes downhill, and I needed to go downhill. So I followed water, and of course a little stream met another little stream, became bigger, and that met some more streams, and I followed this. I was zigzagging all over the place, but I'd always follow a stream, because it was always going in the direction I wanted, was downhill. And of course I soon got to below the cloud. And I could see everywhere I needed to go, and it was safe again. And of course, I got back to the youth hostel. And I remember that simile, it saved my life, but I also used that to overcome doubt. I always manage to make sure that I'm going in the right direction when I'm meditating. Instead of being confused, I think, well, I know that if you become more aware, more kind, more peaceful, more joyful, I'm going in the right direction. I follow that little stream of joy, peace, stillness, awareness, kindness, whichever way it will go. And I know what kindness is, I know what peace is, I know what joy is, I know what awareness is. So that's what I follow. And it just leads you zigzagging all down the mountainside until you come below the cloud cover. And you can see the whole mountain. You know exactly where you need to go. That's how you overcome confusion, especially the confusion of doubt. Getting a few qualities which you really know are important and following them. So don't, follow this particular teaching, that particular teaching, or this monk or that religion, that type of Buddhism. Go for something which is you really know is important, which is peace, kindness, awareness, joy. Follow those, and then it will lead you downhill. And dear Ajahn, are there arhats or stream enterers in the world nowadays? Of course there are. That's how you become a stream winner. You go below the cloud. And when you're below the cloud, you can see which way you need to go. And you can see just where the freedom lies. But first of all, you have confusion. That's why the stream winner is someone who's overcome doubt. They can see where all the paths are, which way to go to get the freedom. So of course there are, yes. Dear Ajahn, my daughter is 4 months pregnant. Can Ajahn please advise a simple meditation practice for her? Thank you, Ajahn. Just most meditation practices are wonderful. So she's not pregnant, she's pregnant. What does pregnant mean? It's a typo. That means pregnant, obviously, got a kid inside. Advise a simple meditation practice for her is just learn to be in the present moment. And certainly don't be afraid. And I say this as a monk, as a male. Giving birth is easy. Thinking about it is the hard part. Really think about it. And sometimes people can give you lots of fear. Oh, yes, when I gave birth, it really hurt. Oh, just, when I was pregnant, it was so heavy. Oh. So don't have fear at all. It's a very joyful time for you. And just learn. If you can even suggest to yourself that when you do go into labor, never call them labor pains, call them labor energies or the forces of birth, something a bit more positive. You can say it's labor pains, oh my goodness, it makes you feel really bad. But labor energies, power, this incredible thing, you're participating in a birth, a being is coming through your body into the world. So those positive ideas, that was actually started off in this hippie camp over in San Francisco, and then they moved over to Oklahoma or somewhere. And I remember reading that book and just how that when women had their births, how quickly they had the births and no labor pain at all. Labor energies, the same experience, but gave it a positive spin on it. So anyway, just learn how to make peace, relax. And so whenever you do about to give birth, say, let go. Open the door of your heart so she can come out, or he come out, whatever it is coming out. Dear Ajahn, I have an 8-year-old nephew with mild autism. I wanted to try teaching him meditation. Instead, he perceives it as closing eyes and napping for 2 minutes. Fine. How can I get started? His attention span is too short. It's fine. Just start by doing that. And then later on, he'll just improve and have more attention. In other words, the fact that he's closing his eyes and sitting still, hopefully, that's a start. Don't raise the bar too high for him. It's a mild autism. And later on, if he naps for 2 minutes, that's fine. Later on, he become more aware. So you're starting, well, only 8 years of age. That's wonderful. I don't know what type of meditation you're teaching him, but I went to Singapore, obviously when I used to go to Singapore, and they asked me to go and teach at the Little Gems kindergarten during Wesak. Well, around Wesak time, I thought, oh, how can you refuse? Even teaching little kids, which are really little kids, is a lot more difficult than teaching adults. So anyway, it was Wesak, and so just make it up as you go along, as I always do. There was a big Buddha statue there, and I said, okay, now what happened on Wesak? First of all, the birth of the Buddha. And according to the tradition, when the Buddha was born, he walked 7 steps and put his finger up, and the right way around, not the other way around, I told the kids. He said, I am the best in the world. This is my last birth. So I got all the kids to do that, to act it out. Because they were doing something rather than just listening, they found it much easier. Okay, and the other thing which happened on Wesak, the Buddha became enlightened. You see how the Buddha's sitting? Come on, sit down cross-legged. And they all sat down cross-legged because they'd seen the picture, or they'd seen this Buddha statue. They all did that. And then I got him for the first time. I said, now imagine you're the Buddha, just enlightened. Imagine you're sitting under this beautiful shady tree and a cool wind is blowing. You've got your eyes closed. And you're so relaxed, so at ease. You just became enlightened. And I really got into it. And all the kids did too. And all the parents who were there watching, they really got into it. And I said the kids have never been so quiet for such a long time. Because they were imagining, using something which kids are very good at, imagining inside themselves, visualizing. And visualizing being a Buddha. And that was so powerful that the parents that evening had to teach another meditation that evening. Can you teach that to us, please? So I got all the grown-ups sort of doing the same meditation. I called it kids meditation, but it was really powerful. So make sure that that kid, mild autism, he's not always autistic. Sometimes he has episodes of autism, but just that's fine. And leave him as he is, respect him, and see if you can teach him to visualize. Visualize being the Buddha, freshly enlightened. Because maybe they can get into that and they can feel it. They can feel peace rather than having to need to watch the breath to get peace. Give that a try. Next question. Dear Ajahn, please advise on how I can keep a cool head and a warm heart towards my kiddos, age 10 girl and 9 boy, when they are being rude to me, especially when they use profanity at me. Thank you. So why do they use profanity at you? If you just say you don't understand those words, or just don't react to them if you at all can. They're just trying to wind you up, get some sort of response from you. And if you don't respond, say, look, I don't understand those words. I don't hear them. And so when you speak nicely, then I can understand them. So for a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old, they can be pretty easy to retrain by not getting angry at them. When they say profanity, if you get angry at them, then they've won. They've got a reaction out of you. They've upset you for some reason or whatever. But if you just totally ignore them when they say bad words, they don't understand that word. And if they say something which is nice, I understand that. So don't give them negativity. But give them positivity when they say nice things. When they say bad things, just ignore it. That's, again, I always say, where you've got 2 ears. One to go in, one to go out. So they try to be rude to you, but you don't accept it. You don't argue back at them. You just pretend not to hear it.
Yeah, John.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yes, it's 9 o'clock.
And I didn't give you a toilet break. Please forgive me for my lack of compassion to you.
Stop sharing. Thank you, Ajahn.
Are you okay? But instead of giving you a toilet break, can I give you, this is the end of the day for you. Can I give you a quick blessing?
Yes, sure.
Okay, here we go. The blessing for all of you who stayed up. And after the blessing is finished, you're free to go to toilet.
3
So-
sadhus also.
Yeah, okay. I'll do the blessing first. Sabbaroga vinimuto sabba santapa vajito sabba vera mati gando niputo chatuang bhava sabitiyo vivachantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavan vantarayo Sukhi digayu gopava apiwa danhasi litsa nichang wuta pachalino chataro dhamma vatanti ayuvano sukhan
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Excellent. It's great to be with you, even just over the internet. Very good. So have a nice evening. Have a good night's sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.